What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. You guys know my name. I'm Lawrence here at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and today, of course, is the Hot 10 Comics of the Week breakdown. What is this, you ask? It is the Key Collectors app hot list that appears every week, and every Thursday at 7:30 a.m. I break them down for you, letting you know which books I'm buying at which prices, and of course, which books I'm staying away from. Now, with that out of the way, I want to remind you guys, if you're not a current sub of the channel, hit that sub button. I want you to hit the hype button for me. You guys see this right here? That's a new thing that YouTube is doing. Make sure you hit that. And also, of course, hit that like button as well. With that out of the way, let's get into this week's breakdown. Starting us off this week at number 10 is the Punisher Limited Series number 1, the first solo series featuring the Punisher. We had 7 copies break the average this week with a high in a CGC 9.8, selling for $550, up 4% over the average. Expect second-tier Punisher issues to continue to gain traction the closer we get to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, with that said, do I want to spend $500 on a 9.8 of this book? I gotta tell you, you can get really nice copies of this book for under $100. So to me, I'm buying raw. I don't want to spend $500 on this book because it's not a key issue. I know I see all the time Copper Age books and a 9.8 for $500 or less. This one, because it's not a key issue, I would buy it, but only in the raw form. I don't want to spend $500 for this book. Oh baby, making its return to the list at number 9 this week is Wolverine number 1, the first solo Wolverine title and an iconic cover by Frank Miller. A crazy 12 copies beat the average this week with a high in a CGC 9.8, selling for $535 and up 6% over the average. Wolverine number 1 makes the list only for the 3rd time this year after dominating the list in 2024. With that said, do I want to spend $500 on a 9.8? Just like Punisher Limited Series number 1, I don't want to spend this kind of money on this book, but I will say this, for a 9.8, you can get it for a deal on $450 or so. Why not pull the trigger? Just make sure it's the copy to own. And what I mean by that is the color's got to be great, nothing funny going on with the book. Other than that, I'd rather just own a raw copy. How about some Bronze Age? At number 8 this week is Iron Fist number 14, the first full appearance and cover appearance of Sabretooth. Only 6 copies beat the average this week with a high in a CGC 9.0, selling for $510, up 9% over the average. Next up, we had a CGC 8.5 sale for only $432, up 7% over the average. And finally, a CGC 8.0 selling for only $350, but only up 1% over the average. Sabretooth makes the list for only the 2nd time in 2025. So $500 or less, I do want to own this book in the highest grade possible because it is a first appearance. That's how I collect, guys, all right? I like to own classic covers, don't get me wrong, but when you get to the Copper Age, there's just too many copies out there for me to spend $500 on one of these books. But because this is a first appearance, I want to own it. Just get the highest grade possible for your collection. I don't know if it's just me, but I want to get rid of this book. At number 7 this week is Star Wars number 1, the first appearance of most of the original Star Wars characters. An absolutely insane 17 copies broke the average this week with a high in a CGC 9.6, selling for $865 and up 13% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.4 sale for $479, up 3% over the average. And lastly, a 9.2 selling for $500, up 29% over the average. You guys hear that right? A 9.2 sold for more than a 9.4. Makes no sense. With that said, this is the 6th time in 2025 that Star Wars number 1 has made the Hot 10 list. I started this one off saying I don't want to own this book. It's been on this list too many times, in my opinion, over the past year and last year to boot. I know there's a lot of Star Wars fans out there, but I don't want to spend crazy amount of money on this book. I think if you're a big Star Wars fan, you have to own it. Just don't overpay. Speaking of book that's been on the list forever, at number 6 this week is Marvel Superhero Secret Wars number 8 and the Origin of the Black Symbiote Costume, a very popular book. A whopping 14 sales beat the average this week with a high in a CGC 9.8, selling for $490 and only up 3% over the average. The symbiote makes the Hot 10 for the 11th time in 2025. So I'm going to break my rule here. I say it all the time, 9.8, 500 or less for this one. I do want to own this book, but I got to tell you, now that it's under $500, you really have to be careful. Because I love Spider-Man and because I think the symbiote is probably one of the things out there that a lot of collectors love, I'm going to give it my blessing at $500 or around that price range for a beautiful looking 9.8. I'd be a buyer. If you don't want to spend the money, get yourself a nice raw copy. Rounding out the list at number 5 is some more Spider-Man. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 121, The Death of Gwen Stacy. This is also an iconic cover by the great John Romita Sr. 7 sales beat the average this week with a high and a CGC 9.6, a monster grade, selling for $1,700 and up 11% over the average. Then we had a 9.2 sale for a cool $1,000, selling for $999, but up 32% over the average. And lastly, a CGC 9.0 selling for $769 and up 12% over the average. I'm shocked to see ASM 121 on the list for the second time in 2025. This is one of my absolute favorite covers. You guys know I'm a Spidey guy. This one, in my opinion, is very underrated. Now, with that said, do I want to own this book? 100%. I don't think you need to get a 9.0, 9.2, or 9.4. Just get the copy you want to keep in your collection for the long term. This one is a classic. Speaking about another book I'd like to get rid of, at number 4 this week is Invincible number 1, the first appearance of Invincible. 8 copies broke the average this week, with 4 of them being in a 9.8. The highest selling for $5,000, up a crazy 18% over the average. We also had a CGC 9.6 sale for $2,995, up a crazy 33% over the average. As of now, there are 520 CGC 9.8s on the census and another 639 in a 9.6. To me, that is a lot of copies out there for a modern book. I believe there's just over 10,000 of these sent to retailers, if my memory serves me correct. Do I want to own the book? Sure. I actually think Invincible is a really great series, but $5,000 for a modern key in a 9.8 and another 3 in a 9.6 just screams too expensive for me at these prices. Back to Spider-Man and back to the hottest comic book of the year. You guys guessed it, it's Amazing Spider-Man number 129 and the first appearance of the Punisher, Frank Castle. This is also a classic cover by John Romita Sr. and Gil Kane. The hottest book in the universe had 12 sales beat the average to a pulp this week with a high in a CGC 9.4, selling for $4,200, up 13% over the average. Next up, a CGC 9.2 sale of $3,036, up 5% over the average. And finally, a CGC 8.0 selling for $2,026, up 10% over the average. For an incredible 28th time, the Punisher makes the Hot 10 list in 2025. That is crazy, guys, right? 28 out of 35 weeks, this book is on this list. You guys know it's one of my favorite covers of all time, one of my favorite books of all time, by one of my favorite artists of all time. Now, with that said, do I want to own this book? You guys know it, I do. Just be careful out there. A lot of copies out there. Just get the copy you want to own for your collection for the long term. I say it every week. Sticking with Spider-Man at number 2 this week is Amazing Spider-Man number 300 and the first full appearance of Venom. This is also iconic artwork by the great Todd McFarlane. Only 9 copies beat the average this week with a high in a CGC 9.8. Newsstand copies selling for an incredible $10,000, but only up 3% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.6 direct sell for $920, up another 8% over the average. This marks the 20th week out of 35 that Venom makes the Hot 10 list. You guys know it. I see this book every other week. You got to own this book. It's a major first appearance and a classic cover to boot. But there are a lot of copies out there. If you don't know this already, this is the most graded book by CGC of all time. So to me, I don't want to spend a crazy amount of money to own it. I just want to own a nice raw copy or a 9.2, 9.4 signed by the Todd Father. And finally, at the top spot, a book worthy of number 1. So worthy, in fact, I think this is the number 1 book people should own, in my opinion. It is Amazing Fantasy number 15. This, of course, is the first appearance and origin of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. This is also technically the first appearance of Uncle Ben and Aunt May. Only 3 sales beat the average this week with a high in a CGC 4.5, selling for $34,800 and up 2% over the average. Next up, we had a CGC 2.0 sale for $22,099, up 10% over the average. And finally, we had a cover-only sell for $7,500, but up 17% over the average. According to CGC, there are 4,062 total graded copies on the census. Of these, there are only 238.5 copies, totaling 6% of the population. 72 sales and a 0.5 have sold alone in 2025. What does that tell me? People want to own this book. And guess what? If you're a Spider-Man fan, and there are a lot of Spider-Man fans out there, they just want to own the book. And that's what the important thing is. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the most important book, in my opinion, in all of comics. The number one book in my collection, and the number one book I want to own. Of course, I'm a buyer. So that's it for the list this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Some new books this week, but also some of the same stuff we've been seeing for quite some time. It's now time for my best buy of the week, and if you haven't guessed it already, it's going to be Amazing Fantasy number 15. I said it before, if there's one book I wanted to own in all the comic book market, this is it. A lot of Spider-Man fans, and to me, one of the most important books of all time. I want to give you a gentle reminder, make sure you're checking out the Mighty Rewind podcast here on the channel and also on his own channel. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, happy collecting, and I'll talk to you guys soon.